Okay, someone asked me how I cut my slots for my CA hinges. I've used basically two methods over the years. The first one I do not recommend. It's what I used when I was young and broke. And all I do is I take the piece of material I had to hinge, grab a ruler, and then make a mark, make another mark, and then I would join them. It gives you a line to follow with your knife, but as you can see, it's not centered exactly. It works, not the greatest. The way I prefer to do it is to use some kind of scribing tool. I have two. I have this old Carl Goldberg tool. I really love it. I got it about 30 years ago. And if you look, you can see that there's a little tiny plastic tip sticking up in the center. What you do with that is you take it, you have the two legs, and you put them tight against the two sides of the wood, push in the center so that tip goes into the wood, and then just pull it back and forth, and you got a nice little scribe line. What I like to do to make sure it's easier to see is I also take a pencil, very thin, thinnest I can find, and run it back and forth so it's pretty obvious where you have to make that scribe line. Now, 3 or 4 months ago, I went out and bought this new tool because I couldn't find this one for some reason. And it works, same principle. You have the two legs, and they go on either side of the wood. You just turn it until they're both tight, push it in, and pull it along to scribe. Now, it's a little hard to tell, but this is a much thicker line. We'll go ahead and take the Carl Goldberg and do another one right next to it. And you can see that the Carl Goldberg tool made it a little bit thinner line. Or maybe you can't see that well. Take my word for it. For a little half-A engine plane, I would use this. For a 30 or 40 size, this is fine. And it can be used anything from the little 1/8 inch scribing. Makes a nice deep line. This is 1/8 inch. Oh, sorry, this is 1/4 inch. So you saw that worked. And I can go up to 1/2 inch and scribe a little line. Hopefully you can see that. If you have to go bigger than 1/2 inch, this Great Plains, you can swap the sides over, but I don't know where I would need to scribe bigger than 1/2 inch. But this is $3 or $4. This was like 85 cents when I bought it 30 years ago. If you can find one of these, grab it. Okay, now that I have my scribe line, let's make the actual slot. The way I do it is I just take an X-Acto knife. They have all these fancy electro cut tools that vibrate and cut in. I'm simple, and this is my favorite knife. I've had it for going on 30 years, I guess. In fact, I've had that blade for almost 30 years too. So I just take it and I very carefully line up and just start cutting very slowly along that scribe line until I've got the depth I want. Eventually, it's pretty much all the way in. So that's how far in it goes. Then I can just slide my CA hinge right in. Now, you have to be careful when you do this freehand, because if you're not real careful and you put it at an angle, you end up cutting through on the end, the knife coming right through. Not a very good thing, but it's not the end of the world. What you can do is just start over again in that same slot, being very careful this time to do it straight in. And it's not really going to be a problem for you because, yes, you have a line straight and one going in at an angle. And if you're not careful, you can slide the hinge throughout that angle. So you put it in on the straight line that you just cut, and when you put your super glue in and it wicks through, it will actually wick through and reseal that little hole or that little edge cut. So it'll be just as strong as if you'd done it straight the first time. That's the simple way of cutting the slots. Then, when I want to bevel the trail edge, I've gotten lazy. I have a mark, so I just take my sanding block, nice and flat, and sand it up to the line on both sides. And now I have it beveled up to that cut. Now there's a nice little tool I've had for, again, 30 years. I think I got this in a Carl Goldberg electric kit, but you can make your own. All it is 3 pieces of light ply. One has a straight edge, then cut down at 45 degrees, to which you glue a thick piece of light ply and a very thin piece of light ply, so that what you end up with is a 45-degree angle there. And you can see after all these years the glue I used has been coming loose, but it works just as fine as it used to. And I just take it and rub back and forth. And it cuts an angle up to my little hinge line. It needs a little more work to get perfect, but this is just an example. And this is something you can make yourself at home. Don't have to spend the whatever it costs to buy some commercial bevel maker. Handy dandy little tool, I like it. And that's it. That's how I cut my slots and how I bevel my trailing surfaces. After that, it's just putting the hinge in like I showed earlier. Sorry for the amateur quality, but that's me. Hope you all have fun. Enjoy.